Hello, everyone, and welcome to the U.S.-Ukraine conference today and to our panels about Ukraine innovation capacity and later tech ecosystem reform. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Buryk. I'm a writer on Ukrainian technology, as well as a podcaster, and also on the advisory board of the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation. I'm pleased to say today we have two excellent moderators as well as speakers for our panels. Our first moderator is Yaroslav Azhnyuk, who is a co-founder and CEO at a company called Petcube, which is a Ukrainian technology startup dedicated to connecting pets to the internet. Yaroslav is also a co-founder of Moderator Design Lab and an advisor to a number of venture-funded companies. And he is a public speaker advocating for more ambitious, impact-focused entrepreneurship. He has a master's degree in computer science from Kyiv Polytechnic Institute and is also a graduate of the Y Combinator Winter 2016 Tech session. With that, Yaroslav, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for the introduction, and welcome, dear panelists, and welcome, dear viewers. We're gonna make it fun today, so we'll be talking about innovation and what can be more fun than innovation. Dear panelists, we will have a number of questions, maybe 3, maybe 4 questions, and then I will ask you to limit your answers to about 3 minutes long. And then we'll have some questions from the audience. So I will start with introducing our panel and then following by some questions. So first here on the list in the Zoom meeting, I have Oles Petriv, who is a Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at reface.ai, and he's also a machine learning engineer. Reface is one of the world's top entertainment apps today, along with TikTok and Netflix. Can you imagine? Ukrainian-built app. They use AI to create funny short videos featuring people in well-recognizable movie scenes for online memes. And recently, just weeks ago, they have announced they raised $5 million in their first funding round from no one else than Andreessen Horowitz, one of the world's most renowned venture firms. And next up, I have Emanuele Volpe, who is with DTEK, a Chief Innovation Officer at DTEK, and an aerospace engineer by education. Emanuele has an impressive career in enterprise and manufacturing, chemical and refining and power. And obviously, DTEK is the largest private investor in Ukraine's energy sector that employs over 70,000 people and is owned by Rinat Akhmetov, Ukraine's #1 in Forbes, and a person who has major political and media influence in Ukraine. And next up, we have Victoria Repa, who is the CEO and co-founder of Better Me and a product analyst. So in 2019, Better Me was the world's #1 health and fitness app publisher in terms of install. Again, can you imagine? That was the #1 apps and fitness publisher. It's an app from Ukraine headed by Victoria. And they offer a series of apps for women and men dedicated to weight loss and fitness. And we'll talk more about that. So my first question will be for Oles. Oles, your story is super remarkable. My question for you is, what do you think are the components that are needed so that we see hundreds more stories like that from Ukraine?
Thank you, Yaroslav, for the question. As for me, key components for cool tech startups that can create products that will be evaluated by market and by millions of users worldwide, we need two main things. bright technical minds. And as for me, in Ukraine, everything pretty good with it. And second thing, product-oriented, skilled guys that have experience in creating worldwide product. And with second thing, we have a little problems in Ukraine. But I see constant drift from in Ukraine from being resource base for outsourcing companies into fields of hundreds of small but pretty perspective startups that have their product vision, big ambition, which is pretty important thing, especially if you want to deal with big VCs and so on. If you don't have big vision worldwide of how you will revolutionize some fields, your okay working business model is not interesting for big guys. And I see constant drift that we have more and more ambitious guys that trying to start their own thing in Ukraine, and they're finding ways how to find the support in LA, in Bay Area, or in big VCs in Europe. But there are some problems related to optics, how Ukraine founded startups look out of Bay Area VCs, and hopefully in this field we already see some big drift into more and more interest of Bay Area based VCs for Ukraine founded bright and ambitious ideas.
Right. So to summarize, to have more companies like Reface from Ukraine, we need more ambition, more product thinking people, and just more time so that all of these things come together. Optics becomes better. There's more access to capital and all of that. Thank you so much, Oles. And with that, we'll be moving to our first question for Victoria. And Victoria, your story is basically the Silicon Valley-like success stories, but that happened in Kyiv, right? You started early on as a product analyst, and you really built your career really fast, becoming a founder. And my question for you, do you think there is a limit to this, to how much you can scale while being in Kyiv? Do you think that at some point you will have to move to the United States, to the Bay Area? Or do you think there is no limit, and maybe even today Kyiv is a better place to build a tech company than somewhere in the US? What do you think about this?
So, okay, true. In the past, we all thought that it place for startups, the best place is the Silicon Valley, since networking is the critical in business development. However, in 2020, everything changed. These physical boundaries are now gone, and all the scale limitation are only within the lead team. Because in the situation like lockdown of 2020, people you work with are crucial, not your location, but your team and your partners are the key to successful changes in any places. So our entire team is located in Ukraine, And we distribute all our strategic and operational tasks independently, and we do not have any representatives. So our product today is 100 Ukrainian made, but reaches users all over the world. And these global changes push out us to grow. There will be no other chance like this one again. And we are grateful that we were able to use this opportunity because Battery team doubled since March 2020. And we were able to release several major most requested features for our users. And we are learning to survive for us as normal. And our totally core metric just doubled. And 2020 demonstrated that no location and no outside influence can stop those who strive to grow.
So do you think American entrepreneurs should move to Kiev and start their businesses here?
Maybe no, because it will be big competition for us today.
So actually, whoever is listening should be thinking, oh, hell yes, I should be moving to Kiev. Okay, that's a good one. Thank you so much. So Victoria says, please don't move to Kiev. Please leave this, leave this for us. All right. So my next question is for Emanuele. Emanuele, obviously, you know, we have two startups and we have one representative of a large corporation having a difficult task of innovating inside there. And obviously, in world's leading market for innovation and venture investment in the United States, large corporations create a market for M&A, and this fuels entrepreneurship. This fuels people because they know they can sell their company, they can make an exit, fuels investment opportunities, and so on. And my question for you, Emanuele, is what do you think is the role of a DTEK in this scene? Is it only like energy related investments, or can it be outside of that space? And I know that government regulators sometimes interfere in what you do. How do you see the future? How do you see DTEK as a player in this innovation scene?
Yeah, let's say first point that we are not interested in M&A. I mean, in the future world, what we see is the classical, how to say, triangle. When we have startups that they are the most innovative, how to say, entities in the world. We see corporates like ours that they, I mean, strive to learn a lot from startups, and then we see funds that are the three parts of this triangle. For us, it's important to deal with startups since, first of all, we are interested in bringing into our company their technology. And along they approach their mentality. And it's not so easy when you deal with startup, since startup would like everything now. Corporates would like everything after you have set all the procedures, you sign all the documents, and so on and so forth. And if we see we have some kind of matching point, basically we invite startups to run pilot projects within our company. And if the pilot project is interesting and ends in a positive way, we have a relationship with different funds, and we can highlight, hey, fund, there is this startup that is good, since sorry, don't get offended, but there are thousands and thousands of startups, and we know that 98% of the startups are not bringing anything real, since there are good ideas. But as a corporate, we need to have, some kind of real product in order to improve different KPI that we have in our companies. So if the startup has shown some kind of real, how to say, attitude, then we can say, fund, please invest in this startup, since the startup is getting a contract from a corporation.
Right. What you're saying is that DTEK as an entity is not interested in buying companies and bringing innovation by acquisition. Why is that?
Right. So why we should buy a startup when at the beginning I'm more interested that my colleagues, my 73,000 colleagues, could learn from a startup in order to become themselves a startup within a company, in order to grow, to raise this kind of entrepreneurship approach. Think about a company with 73,000, I mean, entrepreneurship, okay? It's disruptively completing the business we are in. Then let me say that when a startup has, has piloted with us and has a real interesting product, we are not interested also in buying the startup. On the contrary, we are interested that this startup could sign contracts with other corporates. Since for us, it's important not be, how to say, the innovative company, but in order to create an innovative ecosystem, you need to have different players on it. So for us, it's important to grow the, how to say, Ukrainian innovative ecosystem. Basically, innovation is not a single genius, but as Linda Hill was telling, is a collective genius. And I'm here in Ukraine since 2.5 years. I never found so talented people. I mean, so talented young people. You can give a task.
Emanuele. Yes, and in the interest of time, we'll be moving on. But to summarize, we basically heard that DTEK is not really building its innovation strategy around buying companies, rather around learning from startups and expanding that innovation to its huge, over 70,000 people strong workforce. Thank you so much. And with that said, we'll go to a second round of questions. And my second question to Oles is this. So given the recent funding, what would be your advice to the investors in the United States when they are considering funding companies in Ukraine? What should they look for? What are the success metrics? And maybe what should they stay away from? What are the false success metrics?
Half a year ago, when we've started our seed round, connecting with dozens of different VC funds, we were focused on Bay Area VCs, but 99% of them was mainly concerned about location, things like our corporate structure and different things related to legal stuff and security of this legal stuff, but less and less question about product vision, where do you want to move on, and so on. 3 months after our first messages and so on, after everything blows up and very viral things start to happen, all of these VC fund wrote us and sent their some of them sent draft of term sheets and all this stuff, questioning about vision, questioning about strategy and all thing. But so my advice from our experience, don't take too serious location, especially after 2020. And it is pretty important thing, especially for Bay Area funds. For example, British funds, they don't have such strong concern that you're located not in Bay Area or not in California. And second thing, which is what thing you should not ignore or trying to find promising startup is basic, even toy size market validation. There are a lot of great ideas, a lot of big plans, but even if your plan is conquering whole universe, if you cannot set up a small experiment that will be easily validated by market, 99% that you will not succeed even on your first step. So small validation is must have. And second thing, location, especially after 2020, is not a question.
Thank you so much. That was very, very clear and crisp. All right. With that said, let's change the order a little bit and go to Emanuele for the second round. And my second question is about the DTEK's role in ecosystem. So overall, DTEK and its owner, Rinat Akhmetov, have really big influence on Ukraine's social and political life. And as we know, and I'm sure many other panels will be discussed, that the rule of law remains one of the key barriers for Ukraine's way to the market economy and being a successful country overall. And obviously DTEK and other corporations, they have their share of responsibility in overall how the country is governed. So do you ever have internal discussions about this? Like how can DTEK accelerate the whole innovation ecosystem to make sure there are more entrepreneurs, more innovative ideas, and eventually more benefit for DTEK's business through innovation? How do you guys think about this internally?
So the first point is that, I mean, when you deal with innovation, you need to be humble. I mean, it makes no sense to deal with innovation and say, we are DTEK, now you do what we say. I mean, I think it doesn't work for any kind of corporation, any kind of big company. So being humble, what does it mean? Means that you should be open and show everybody what are your, how to say, point in which you would like to be helped. What does it mean? We have our strategy. We have a public site that is openinnovation.dtek.com. Basically, everybody can access this site. First of all, can read what are our challenges. What does it mean? Twice per year, we inquire all our businesses and we ask in which way we could support you as innovation. When we get feedback, we compile those documents, and those documents are in our site. You can access, you can enter, you can access, you can read. Second step, that if you have some kind of proposal that matches those challenges, or if you have some other idea that doesn't match, since, you know, innovation is nice, since it is not embedded in only what you think, but you should be open to gather everything other. And maybe you get some kind of ideas that are interesting that you could never think about this. So if you have either something that matches or something not, please apply. We have our internal process where as soon as you apply your proposal, we ask always, please submit at maximum 6 slides. You know, sometimes, you know, I mean, you're a startup, so you know that when you are pitching, time is important.
Got it. Yeah, Emanuele, my question was a little bit different. It was about, you know, whether there's a way DTEK could positively impact the government policies and including policies in the sphere of rule of law, so that ecosystem becomes better.
What they say, we did not get in touch with the government in order to propose or we have not been asked about our support. When we will get or there will be a possibilities, I mean, we are open to propose our vision or to suggest what we can do, what we cannot, to see the way we work. Basically, we are in touch with different, how to say, governmental important people. Basically, here in Ukraine, everybody knows what we do. And I guess somebody already started to use us as a benchmark. So we are open. If we will get some kind of, I don't know, if somebody will address us a question, we are ready, I mean, to cooperate or to show the way we work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So our next question goes to Victoria. And Victoria, for you, I would like to hear your advice for the entrepreneurs. With Oles, we were talking about the investors. With you, I'd like to talk about entrepreneurs. What would be your advice to the US entrepreneurs thinking about building their teams, businesses in Ukraine, maybe their R&D teams, and to Ukrainian entrepreneurs thinking about scaling to the US and selling to the US audience? What would be your advice to these two types of entrepreneurs?
Okay, to my mind, it makes no difference where to build a team. Of course, there are small workflow differences, but still it's a team. And I believe that shared values are at the core of team to grow. They may vary from culture to culture, and it's important to work with people who share yours. Better Me have 3 main principles, like a mantra, that help us to grow the team and product at the record speed. So first, it's fail fast and cheap. Second is test and learn. And third, speed is everything. And we implement in many business operations. For example, if we talk about marketing or operation product, 90% of our users come from social. And to run successful ads, we have to constantly test a lot of marketing creatives. So we create about 10 variations of each and observe which one performs best. Such tools allows us quickly test any hypothesis, and this way we invest in small mistakes to avoid big ones. So my main advice is to find suitable tools with a short response to understand how to test and learn and make it better and repeat. So for me, there is no universal algorithm. So to any startup, just fail fast and cheap, test and learn, and speed is everything.
All right, that's very clear. Thank you so much. With that said, I can see we already have some questions from the audience, and we'll get to that very soon, but we have another round of questions, and let's change the order once again. So let's get back to Emanuele. And Emanuele, my third question for you is, you know, for me, it seems like your job is really, really tough, right? Your job is basically, you know, big energy corporation, and you're trying to make sure that DTEK doesn't follow the footsteps of ExxonMobil, right? As it remains on top of this, you know, corporate scene and like on top of Forbes lists and so on. So, you know, how do you go with that? What do you think the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Ukraine will look like in 10 years? And where do you see yourself in that world?
It's a good question. It's a good question. What I can say is that I never met so clever and so, how to say, proactive guys here in Ukraine, in the countries I've been working before. I think those young generation, they need good support from, how to say, from the mentorship point of view. From this point of view, there are corporations that can support. They need also from governmental point of view. Sometimes we see that there are good talent here, but we found a lot of Ukrainian startups outside Ukraine. Last year, we have been traveling a lot in Europe, Israel, and so on and so forth. It's funny from one side, and it's a pity from the other side that we were listening, pitching of good startups in Europe that at the end turned out they were from Ukraine. And it's a pity that those Ukrainian startups are leaving, how to say, Ukraine. There are different reasons. But one of our targets we have here in DTEK is also to grow locally startups, to keep here. There are a lot of good talent, young guy that they can, how to say, create a good innovation ecosystem in Ukraine. In my team, I have 14 colleagues. All of them, they are young. Okay, I'm also young. I'm 50 years old, but I feel young. And you can assign them some kind of task that you could never imagine you could assign to somebody other in the countries I've worked in before. And for me, it's surprising to see they are developing. There is, we are starting to take you seriously, for example, the hydrogen technology.
So 10 years from now, what are your predictions? What's going to be exciting 10 years from now?
Of course, there will be a lot of, how to say, earthquakes when we are focused on big corporation. Things what's going on, what's already going on with big corporation, with NL, with the Tesla, with the Volkswagen. Basically, those big corporations, they are not only developing their own business, but they are creating different businesses that sometimes they can kill the original business. Think about Shell. Shell is an oil and gas company that is, I mean, is developing, how to say, charging for e-cars. Basically, you are creating a new business that is killing your own business. And
so,
because of this,
so your prediction is that it's going to be disruption. The big corporation is going to be disrupted. It's not going to stay like it is today.
I'm pretty sure that DTEK is 15 years old, but in the next years we will see a different DTEK. And this is not simply, I mean, it's a business matter. No, it's a survival matter, not only for DTEK, for all the big corporations. And because of this, it's interesting to deal with startups. Since, how to say, from startups, we get some kind of DNA that it is not embedded in corporates. And you can get a lot of different ideas that better you learn and you, how to say, implement from startups that are your friends than somebody other is eating your business.
Got it. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. With that said, we'll move to Oles. And the third question for Oles is actually about the software you yourself are building. So your software is super realistic. It creates super realistic videos that basically portray situations that have never, ever happened. Do you ever think that us all might be living in a computer simulation?
I think we're definitely living in a cognitive simulation constantly created by a thing we call our brain. And we extending this cognitive simulation with new interfaces like computers, monitors, different interfaces that are more and more close to our skin and our sight, ears, and so on. And what we want and what we're building right now in Reface is a new type of content sharing pipeline where content will be dynamically personalized and adopted for consumer of this content during process of content consumption. So what we want to build a social platform when you're constantly creating new stuff during consuming old stuff, and share this experience with your friends and with other people, expanding this network or of recontextualized piece of visual content that you already know in new context, with new vision and with new interfaces. So yeah, I think we live in cognitive simulation of things.
What about physical? Like, do you buy this idea that we might be just the characters in some kind of computer game?
Knowing some part of quantum field theory, I think definitely, but not in a way we think about computer simulation, not in a matrix-like computer game, but maybe some mathematical structure that is constantly self-optimized itself, but constantly increasing complexity.
All right, that sounds Eric Weinstein-like, but that sounds fun. Thank you. And our last question is for Victoria, and it's also about the future. So, generally over the last decades, healthy lifestyle is on the rise around the world. So what do you think, again, 10 to 20 years into the future, what do you think is going to be the middle-class fitness life like? What is the future of fitness?
Mm-hmm. If we are talking about digital wellness and health tools, what I see is primary personalization based on personal goals, metrics, and preferences. Due to the personal productivity trend, I think that training time will continue to decrease and there will be a focus on increased efficiency. So good examples on this emerging trend are the high-intensive workout and maybe Tabata workout, and of course some fun games in health and fitness. And I'm totally confident that the popularity of home workouts and health wellness services will continue to grow. More and more daily routines will be handled with the help of cell phones, of course, because physical and mental health are just some of the many examples. And also an interesting trend for today that I'm currently observing is that people exercise less for visual aesthetics and more for health benefits. Especially in United States trends, because there are body positivity trends. This results in a wide variety of workout patterns and workout specialties for people feel better, not just lose weight. And of course, mental health awareness is on the rise too. I think more people realize that taking care of mental well-being is important, especially after this rough 2020 year, and that leads to more product like self-help and meditation.
All right, so that's pretty exciting for your business, I guess, the vision that you're seeing in the future of fitness. But whatever is exciting for the businesses on this panel is exciting for Ukraine and is excited for Ukraine-US cooperation. And Mike, I know that we started 5 minutes later, so I wonder if we have a bit more time to run this audience-posed question about the future of energy.
Sure. Yeah, you can take 5 minutes for some questions. We seem to have some already. There's one in the Q&A.
Do you have more of them?
I just see one. The question in the
I have
Q&A.
another one that came by a different channel, but let's start with this one. So
okay.
We have a question from a person coming from Khmelnytsk Obelenерgo, and Khmelnytsk is one of the big regions in Ukraine, and obviously some government-owned and energy company out of there. And the question is saying that they're working already with a Korean innovative company, electricity smart grid creation, and it's basically like intrapreneurship inside of an organization. But this goes mainly unnoticed, and everywhere we only hear the startup narrative, so no kind of entrepreneurship narrative. And the electricity grid in Ukraine is outdated. How do our panelists think we should be dealing with an issue of this electricity grid infrastructure? And I think we should start with Emanuele for this question. It just gets to your home base. We'll listen to Oles and Victoria as well.
Yeah, let's say the grid status in Ukraine, I would say, is not of the best ones. It should be improved, and for sure, taking into account that generation will have some kind of concurrent position with the prosumers. It's clear that the future is through the grids. We're talking about power, we're talking about how to say data, but grids is something that we should improve. And as we see from other countries, it is basically the next steps of power energies. What does it mean? What we see in the other countries that with the explosion of renewables everywhere, basically the cost of electricity is turning down. It's sometimes also negative. So where power company can have some kind of added value through the grids, bringing power, bringing data, but I tell you more, if the hydrogen technology will really take place, we could bypass grids and moving hydrogen through pipelines. That is much less expensive than bringing grids. So you see how the future will not be boring.
It also costs some energy to, it also costs energy to convert the hydrogen, like to make it into the form where it can provide energy, right? So it's like...
Yes, but if we can have power, let's say, free of charge from renewables, generating hydrogen from water is something that is more affordable. So the future will not be boring, I'm pretty sure.
So do you think this is a possibility for corporations mainly, or is there a place for innovation as well here?
No, for sure, also for innovation. Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Awesome. All right, Oles, Victoria, just basically like 1 minute or short answers. Oles?
Answer about future of energy stuff?
Yeah, the opportunities in moving to smart grid where I know electricity can go both ways, and I know the future of solar and hydrogen, whatever.
Yeah, thank you. This is not a key expertise of me, but I think we will see a lot of stuff related to effective prediction of energy consumption using different AI technology that can utilize existing resources in a more efficient way rather than harvesting more and more. And right now we already see a lot of interesting stuff going at field of efficient resource consumption prediction, and in future I think it will be one of the core stuff in any field where you have resource consumption. So basically,
awesome. So a big opportunity for innovation. Victoria, what's your take on this?
Oh, Yaroslav, it's hard to answer in the evenings, but nevertheless, I hope that it's great that it's like old industry and there are many opportunities how to improve processes, especially in energy things. And it will be also great if young people go to this old industry and just understand in new way how to improve processes and maybe launch new startup from Ukraine and earn a lot of money and help people all the world.
All right, fantastic. Well, I thank you so much for joining the panel today and answering all these questions. And some of them were tricky, but I hope that our audience had fun and learned something new and interesting and got inspired during the panel. Mike, over to you.
Yeah, and on behalf of the U.S.-Ukraine Foundation, I want to thank all of you for participating in a very lively discussion today. And we look forward to seeing some great things out of all of you in the future.